to be one instance of iPlayer inside of it. And why do we want that? I'm going to close everything else but this. We want that because everything's looking real good, right? We have one little difference here where in our core we've got model, but everywhere else we got domain. We'll fix that at some point because we do want it to be all kind of very similar. But instead of our easy TCP, instead of our parse strategy, we've got this concept of a player. And player1 dot instance. And we really just want the name. So what happens when we type this? So as you can see, we get all of the fun stuff from the player object here. We also have the get name. Now if this is null, we're going to get back an error. So we're going to need to check that someplace else. But for the command prompt, we want to do console if player1 dot instance is equal to null, console system dot console dot writeLine. Please type your name to log in. System dot console dot write system dot console dot readLine. Else, so this means that we actually have a player. Which means we can do anything else we want here. So now in our hive, in our server, we get access to our hive mind, and in our game, we have access to our player. So let's just take a quick look. Oh, sorry. We're returning back a string here. So let's go back into our TCP project and just say why. I'll just explain that for a second. Miclac says, are you standing and why? I am standing. I'm at a standing desk, and I find it's better for me, both in terms of, you know, staying a little mobile during the day, but also to keep the blood flowing and thinking. Okay, so inside of our client, we're going to say, hey, the command prompt is going to equal into our data. So it's going to return back a string. And then we're going to use that to do our other stuff. So we want to write this out and then do a return. Does that make sense? So we're returning whatever we get in from our read line. Else, we have a player. We want to actually display our something. We don't really know what yet. So we'll just do system.console.writeLine, which means player's not empty. Welcome to the game. Person. Alright, so we're going to need to kind of clean this up a bit, but return system.console.readline. Alright, so in theory, we've got a command prompt for our game right now. This is nice for the command prompt. So let's go back over to our TCP and see what it expects next. So it's going to take in that command prompt that we just designed. It's going to figure out if it wants us to quit or not. Then it's going to parse that data into a byte array and send it off. So right now it's giving it back a string, but if we go to our, I'm jumping around a bit, if we go to our server on our process strategy, it's actually looking for a request, and inside of that request it's looking for a console request. So we need to change just a little bit. Yeah, we had it here that the command prompt was going to return back a string. Is that what we want? So here's our client. Oh, this is what we want. We do want a string here, and then we're going to call the parse here. That's what comes the byte array. So we're inside our game again. So whatever we take in here is then going to come in here as the command. And we want to do the same kind of check. If player1 dot instance is equal null. This is our handshake. Else alright, so if it's not null, we want to send forth the command as it is. If it is null, then we assume the command coming in is going to be the player name. So we're going to do console request. Actually, let's go ahead and pull this guy out. New console request is equal to new console request. We're going to use an object initializer, and we just want the command to be login. And then we want the, in this case, we want the player name to still be null. No. Because we need to parse this. So login space command. Player name is equal to null. Whew. Okay. Galahad23 says, do you stream every day, mate? No, I don't. Sorry. So I'm trying to change up the format. Last semester I was doing 3 times a week. I'm hoping to do 2 times a week to kind of keep things shorter. We're kind of moving on 2 hours, so But I found what happened was, if you go to my YouTube channel and look at my past videos, I've got so many videos. Like it's too many videos. And so I'm trying to make the information a little denser and a little easier to access. So I'll be playing around with the format and the times and such. Okay. Payload is equal to console request. Type equals type of console request. Okay, so we're saying here, if we don't have a player yet, then we expect there to be a login command. And if we have a player, we'll just pass in whatever command came through. So let's go over to our server again, to our process strategy. So that's going to come in, and we're going to try to get the game response. Yeah, you're welcome, Galahad. Yeah, so I'm sorry, and I'll expand on it a little more. So we're looking for feedback, and it'd be nice to kind of turn this into like a year kind of thing. So in the first semester, I'll cover 6 design patterns, and in the second semester, we'll really dig in and really start to apply some more advanced patterns to whatever we're building. And so I really need to go back through all of those old videos and give them some structure and really see what the best bang for your buck is going to be moving forward. SF Stormy says, what is the point of having a model and a domain folder? Sure. So this is very loosely the domain-driven design. And so the idea being that we'll go in here. There we go. So this is a bit different. This is the one we kind of messed up, so we won't use that. So the idea is that inside of a domain, these things are more or less mutually exclusive. And so the environment could have a model folder, and it could have a helper folder, a validation folder, could have a bunch of different things, a utils folder. It really is kind of a world in and on itself. And so the idea behind a domain is that we take whatever the root is and we elevate it to its own thing, right? So we've identified in our architecture and in our design that here are really the main groupings, the main concepts. So our architecture is comprised of easy TCP, environment, game engine, inventory, monster, NPC, player. So without even having to go into those folders, we already know all the things that can exist in our architecture. So that's one of the benefits of domain-driven design. We kind of leave it there. We don't really dive into a lot of semantics, but we can reap that benefit as far as organization really early on. So this way, and ignore this one little outlier, this way anything within our solution any product in our solution should follow that same thing. So if I went to any one of these, for example, and you said, hey, what inside of your console application has to do with the player? Well, I would say, well, everything inside of my console application has to do with the player is going to be in this one folder. And so this allows us, if you just look at it, and you can see the organization, you can say, wow, okay, that's actually very obvious. I now know exactly where everything is, regardless of where I am inside of your solution. So I hope that answers the question. That's why we do it. Okay. All right, so we've got something here. We've got something. So we get in here and we say, if the player name is equal to null, well, isn't quite what we want now, is it? Hang on. Let's get rid of this guy, because we're not